Students, today we are going to talk about adrenal cortical hormones, the hormones that are secreted from adrenal cortex. They are also known as steroid hormones, and your adrenal cortex has three different zones. It is zona glomerulosa, then there is zona fasciculata, and then there is zona reticularis. This zona glomerulosa secretes mineralocorticoids. Zona fasciculata, the mid-zone, secretes glucocorticoids, and the innermost secretes androgens, that is zona reticularis. There is a structural classification also, that was the zonal classification. This is a structural classification. It is also divided into C21 steroids and C19 steroids according to the carbon atoms they have. So C21 steroids have 21 carbon atoms, and they have these 21 carbon atoms containing side chains, and they also have this OH, a hydroxyl group at position 17 of a D ring. So they are also known as 17 hydroxycorticosteroid or 17 hydroxycorticoids. On the other hand, C19 steroids contain 19 carbons. They have an oxygen atom or an hydroxyl at position 17, and most of them have this keto group at position 17. So they are also known as 17 ketosteroids. Mainly these are the ones that have this androgenic activity. Functional classification. First of all, I'll show you the structure. Yeah, this is the structure of C21 and C19 steroids. Okay, at position 17 you see a keto group and then the hydroxyl group attached. Okay, now functional classification. Glucocorticoids, which are also cortisol and cortisone, they mainly affect the carbohydrate, protein and lipid metabolism. They have this very minor effect on the electrolyte and water metabolism. Whereas the mineralocorticoids, as the name indicates, the aldosterone, corticosterone, 11-deoxycortisol, they are the ones that mainly affect the reabsorption of sodium and excretion of potassium. So they are also involved in distribution of water in tissues, as it depends on the sodium, the electrolyte composition. Sex hormones, androgens, estrogens, mainly they affect the secondary sexual characters, the hair changes, the voice changes and all. So structure and functional relationship, this is just a small summary of that all C21 adrenocortical hormones must have double bond between C4 and C5. They have this C double bond O group at C3 and C double bond O group at C20. So presence of additional groups will affect the biological activities of these hormones. Like OH at C21 enhances sodium retention and is required for carbohydrate metabolism. Presence of oxygen as OH group or as oxygen at C11 is necessary for carbohydrate activity, and it decreases the sodium retention. The hydroxyl group at C17 increases the carbohydrate activity, and the aldehyde group at C18 is necessary for the mineralocorticoid activity. So this is how the structure comes in relationship with the functions that they are performing. This I already showed you. Okay, steroid hormone synthesis. This is just an overview of the steroid hormone synthesis. That the steroid hormone synthesis takes place in the adrenal cortex by cholesterol changing into pregnenolone by desmolase. Then this pregnenolone by dehydrogenase, that is beta hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase, it converts into progesterone. Then by an hydroxylase enzyme, it converts into 17 alpha hydroxyprogesterone. Then again an hydroxylation at 21st alpha hydroxylase enzyme, it converts into 11 deoxycorticosterol and ultimately into cortisol. From here, the same reactions, cholesterol to pregnenolone and then progesterone and hydroxylation takes place to convert it into 11-deoxycorticosteroid, and then hydroxylation converts it into corticosteroid and ultimately into aldosterone. And here cholesterol to pregnenolone, then progesterone, and progesterone to 17 alpha hydroxyprogesterone, which will then be converted into androstenedione, and then to testosterone. This thing is happening in peripheral tissues, not in the adrenal cortex, and then ultimately to estradiol. So this is an overview of the steroid hormone synthesis. So this is also one on the same thing, how this cortisol is made: cholesterol to pregnenolone, pregnenolone to progesterone, progesterone to 17 hydroxyprogesterone, 17 hydroxyprogesterone to 11 deoxycortisol by hydroxylation, and then 11 deoxycortisol by 11 beta hydroxylase, and using NADPH it is converted into cortisol. So cortisol transports by binding to cortisol binding protein. It has a half-life of 2 hours and its free form is the active form. Aldosterone binds mainly to albumin, okay, and cortisol has this diurnal rhythm, 24 hours secretory rhythm, and it is highest in morning. Now this cortisol is regulated by ACTH, by the negative feedback system. The C21 are reduced to their tetrahydroderivatives, which are excreted as their glucuronides or sulfates in the urine. So they can be secreted by changing into glucuronides or sulfates in the urine. How sex hormone synthesis takes place, we have already actually studied there, but here they have told you how different sex hormones are made. Cholesterol to pregnenolone, pregnenolone to 17 hydroxypregnenolone, and then to DHEA, that is dehydroependosterone, okay, and sterone, sorry, and then pregnenolone to progesterone, progesterone to 17 hydroxyprogesterone, then to androstenedione, and ultimately to estrone and testosterone, okay. So DHEA, androstenedione, estrone, testosterone, these are all the sex hormones. All of them have the same mechanism of action. These are all steroid hormones that act through intracellular messenger involving the hormone response element and increase the rate of transcription. They go and bind to the hormone response element. There is transcription, then there is translation, and then there is a protein synthesis, enzyme synthesis that are going to do all the biological, biochemical, physiological functions, okay. So the metabolic effects of glucocorticoids. So first of all, we'll look over here. They are actually decreasing the insulin secretion. So they're causing beta cell dysfunction, and they're decreasing the glucose transporters, okay. They're decreasing the glucokinase, they are decreasing glucose phosphorylation, and they are increasing the G6 PAS activity, that is glucose 6 phosphatase activity. So what they are doing is they are actually inhibiting the glucokinase. That means they are not there for glycolysis, they are promoting gluconeogenesis, okay. Then here they are increasing gluconeogenesis by increasing the enzymes involved in gluconeogenesis. They are decreasing the insulin sensitivity. They are increasing lipogenesis. So they are helping in making lipids, okay. So there is increased insulin resistance, okay, decreased glucose uptake, decreased glycogen synthesis, there will be breakdown, increased proteolysis, that means catabolism is taking place, and increased intramyocellular lipid in skeletal muscles. In white adipose tissue, they are causing hyperplasia and hypertrophy. They are causing lipolysis, breakdown of lipids, and increasing insulin signaling. Bone, they are increasing bone resorption, then they are decreasing the bone formation and decreasing the collagen synthesis, ultimately going into osteoporosis. So these whole things are causing hyperglycemia, increasing the free fatty acids, and ultimately there is insulin resistance, okay. So they are causing hyperglycemic effects, okay. How you will assess the glucocorticoid secretions? By the basal levels of cortisol, the normal range is 5 to 25 milligram per deciliter at 9 a.m., 2 to 5 milligram per deciliter at midnight. You can estimate find out the urinary free cortisol. You can find the plasma ACTH as it controls and regulates the cortisol. You can find out urinary steroids. You can do the dexamethasone suppression test, some stimulation test, and metyrapone test, which inhibits hydroxylases, so no cortisol is formed. Mineralocorticoids, as already told you, these are C21 steroids. They are mainly influencing the sodium reabsorption and potassium excretion. So it is the aldosterone is the main mineralocorticoid. It has this OH at C11 and aldehyde group at C18. And how you can assess them? By plasma aldosterone activity, plasma renin activity, and serum electrolytes. Synthesis of mineralocorticoids, cholesterol esters can convert into cholesterol, and then they can be converted into pregnenolone. Pregnenolone can be converted into progesterone, and then 11-hydroxy-deoxycorticosterone, then corticosterone, and then 18-OH corticosterone, ultimately aldosterone. Here, progesterone is converted by hydroxylase enzyme to deoxycorticosterone, then 11-beta hydroxylase converted it into corticosterone, and 18-hydroxylase converts corticosterones to 18-OH corticosterone, and 18-OH dehydrogenase ultimately converts it into aldosterone. The metabolic effects of mineralocorticoids, see, we already know that it is increasing the sodium absorption. So it acts on the distal tubules and collecting tubules in the kidney and at least some part of loop of Henle, and it increases the rate of sodium absorption. So it is increasing the rate of sodium absorption. And chloride reabsorption, aldosterone increases the chloride absorption from the tubules because sodium brings chloride with it. Okay. Then potassium excretion or aldosterone increases the loss of potassium by the renal distal tubules and collecting tubules. Thus, you will have hypokalemia in your body. Okay, this may lead to muscle paralysis. Okay, and this is caused by hyperpolarization of nerves and muscle fiber membranes, which prevents the transmission of action potential because of the loss. Then acid-base balance, it brings this whole situation to alkalosis. In response to aldosterone, for each sodium ion reabsorption by hydrogen exchange, one bicarb ion enters, which shifts the reaction to the alkaline side. So this is converting it into an alkaline alkalosis side. Fluid volume, as mineralocorticoids increase sodium chloride absorption and bicarb also is there in CF, so there is more reabsorption of water by stimulation of ADH, creating osmotic gradient across tubular membrane causing thirst. Okay. Blood volume, mild to moderate increase in the blood volume, and effect on sweat glands, salivary glands, and gastric mucosa. This effect is similar in all these glands. All mineralocorticoids reduce the loss of sodium and chloride in the glandular secretions. These are the tables from Hashmi. Okay. Diseases related to this whole thing is hyperaldosteronism can cause Conn syndrome, hypoaldosteronism. Then there is adrenal hyperfunction causing Cushing's disease, adrenal hypofunction causing Addison's disease. So this is Cushing syndrome. You have already studied it in physiology. It will this patient may have this appearance of lemon on stick appearance. Okay, they are the thin legs and this large circumference of the abdomen. They have this hyperglycemia, they have personality changes, they have CNS irritability, they have this moon face, they may have plethora, the redness of the cheeks, they'll have susceptibility to infections, sodium fluid retention, they have thin extremities and gynecomastia, they may have this male breast formed, fat deposits on the back, the hump that is seen at the back. Then they have this GIT distress, increased acids, they may have amenorrhea, hirsutism, lots of hair and thin skin, they have this stria, they may have bruises and petechiae, and they'll have osteoporosis, and they have this easy fracturability due to osteoporosis. In Addison's disease, you can have bronze pigmentation of the skin, hypoglycemia, you can have hypotension, changes in distribution of body hair, you'll have weight loss, GIT disturbances, weakness, and then there's adrenal crisis in which there is profound fatigue, dehydration, there's vascular collapse by decreasing the blood pressure, there's renal shutdown, there's decreased serum sodium and increased serum potassium. This is the adrenal crisis. If not worked upon, the patient may die. So, common disorders of adrenocortical function, I already told you that's Conn's disease. This is primary hyperaldosteronism, where aldosterone is increased. They may have hypertension, hypokalemia, alkalosis. Secondary hyperaldosteronism may show increased aldosterone and renin, and they may have hypertension, hypokalemia, and alkalosis. Cushing's, I already told you, cortisol is increased, ACTT is increased, or sometimes may be decreased, and they have this all muscle wasting, diabetes like symptoms, and hypertension, hypokalemia. In Addison's, cortisol is decreased, aldosterone is also decreased. So they have hypoglycemia, hyponatremia, hyperkalemia, raised urea, abdominal pain, vomiting, dehydration, all these, chronic fatigue, pigmentation, and all that I showed you in the photograph. Then there is androgens, the male sex hormones. So they are the ones that are capable of producing certain masculinizing effects to maintain the normal structure of prostate, seminal vesicles, and influence the development of secondary male characters such as voice change, hair distribution, etc. They are secreted by Leydig cells of testis under the influence of luteinizing hormone that we already discussed. Naturally occurring androgens are testosterone, androsterone, and then dihydroepiandrosterone. So these, how they are formed: progesterone 217 hydroxyprogesterone by hydroxylation the desmolase to androstenedione, and then by reductase enzyme to testosterone, then aromatase enzyme converts it into estradiol. Okay. Here we have already seen the synthesis in the last overview of the steroid sex hormones. So active form is dihydrosterone. It is the active form. The activation takes place in testes, prostate, seminal vesicles, and due to the reduction of the fifth double bond by reductase and NADPH in the last step, this becomes active. 0.4 mg testosterone is reduced daily to this dihydrosterone. In females, there is peripheral conversion of step 5 by ovary. So metabolic effects of androgens, estrogen we've already discussed. So androgen actually is increased insulin receptor. It increases glycogen synthesis. So there is decreased glucose uptake, decreased lipogenesis, and increased cholesterol uptake, increased cholesterol synthesis, and decreased cholesterol removal. We'll be studying it in this table also. So it stimulates protein anabolism. Okay, it is increasing the protein anabolism. Okay, it stores creatine in muscles. So creatine becomes virtually absent from the urine of normal men, increases after castration, and increases body weight and skeletal muscle. It promotes protein synthesis in male accessory glands, increases RNA and RNA polymerase in the nucleus, and increases the transferase at the ribosome levels. So overall there is promotion of growth. And androgen acts at the mitochondrial level to increase respiratory rates, number of mitochondria, and synthesis of mitochondrial membrane. Carbohydrate metabolism, as we know that usually your spermatozoa, they need fructose for their nutrition. So increases fructose production by seminal vesicles and utilization of this sugar by the seminal plasma by enhancing the activity of both aldolase reductase and ketoreductase enzymes. Androgens stimulate the growth of bones before the closure of epiphyseal cartilage, and there is mineralization of added skeletal tissue, which is increased by decreased excretion of calcium and phosphate, strengthening bones. Renotropic action: androgens cause selective increase in size and weight of the kidneys, and there is decreased renal alkaline phosphatase activity, and it increases the D-amino acid oxidase, arginase, and ACP activity. Mineral metabolism, it decreases excretion of urinary the nitrogen, that is urea. After administration of androgen is accompanied by a lower urine volume and diminished excretion of sodium, chloride, potassium, sulfate and phosphate, with no increase in concentration of blood plasma. So, there is retention of potassium, sulfate, phosphate. This may be due to the increased storage of the proteins that are taking place. Androgens reduce and estrogen increases the excretion of citrate in urine. It is due to increased reabsorption by the kidney. So, this as a whole is the are the metabolic effects of testosterone androgens on your body. Thank you very much. So, here we finish our endocrinology and its related hormones, and inshallah next lecture would be of some other topic. Hopefully you understood. Thank you very much.